Good morning. India's time. In 1492, more than 500 years back, there was this explorer, a map maker. He convinced the Queen of Spain to say that I'm going to find a new route to India. This was Christopher Columbus. He set out westwards. He was funded with 3 ships to go find India. 5 years later, Vasco da Gama, funded this time by the King of Portugal. The king said, I give you 4 ships, go find a route to India. India, the land of plenty, India where innovation, new things keep happening. India at this time was called Sone ki Chidiya. That's what India was called. And this wasn't even just the 1500. It was much, much, much before that. Agriculture, medicine, Ayurvedas, mathematics. In all these areas, India was unfolding innovations after innovations. India was the richest country in the world. At this point of time, there was plenty of food. There was so much innovation. They were slaying it. In terms of languages, every village, new innovations, new languages coming up, new food, because there was so much abundant food. So many thousands of varieties of rice were grown here in India at that point of time. And we could grow rice throughout the year. Rice is one of the grains which requires lots and lots of water. So they didn't have to wait for rain. They knew how to irrigate, they knew how to build dams, they knew how to cultivate rice the full year around. There was no need for rain. It could happen. They could do it. Okay. Numbers. You all know Roman numerals. X is 10. You add 5 x's. What does it become? L. 50. You add 10 x's. What does it become? C. 100. How do you add? How do you multiply? How do you divide? How do you subtract? That's why the Indians were there. They created the number system. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And an easy way for you to add, subtract, multiply. And that's the basis for today's modern world. Everything. All the rockets we do, all the computation, all the computers, this talk, this mic, everything is based on this beautiful but simple number system that we can teach even to 4-year-olds. Very simple. They can add, they can subtract, and we teach that. And that's the basis for everything. And this was done thousands of years ago in India. And we were using it to map the stars. We knew that on the axis, Earth rotates on the axis. Aryabhatta, he has written about it several hundreds of years ago. So India was where all the innovation was happening. India was where all the food was, all the economic activity. India was like the center of the earth at that point of time. Now let's fold time a little bit. 1947, we got independence. Which was the poorest country on earth? It was India. India was the poorest country on earth in the year 1947. My mother was 2 years old then. My father was 7. I'm sure many of your parents or grandparents were just born or kids at that point of time. My parents, as I said, were young children. The life expectancy at that time was a child born in 1947 was expected to live to the ripe old age of 32 years. That was the life expectancy. We didn't have food. There was no food. There was no milk, no honey, nothing. There was hunger all around. Do you know how many engineering colleges in the year 1947? 27 across India. Do you know how many management schools in the year 1947? 0. There was nothing to manage. There was poverty all around, no food, and millions were dying in famines. And then India decided, okay, we got to change this. We got to bring around change. Something needs to change here. So we started building engineering colleges, medical colleges, management schools. And there was Green Revolution. A nation which could not feed itself now becomes the second most abundant grain source in the world. The Green Revolution did that. Then there was a White Revolution. There was no milk. In the 1970s, me and my sister, my dad would go to the Delhi milk scheme. There was a place where they sold milk. He would go and leave the bottle there at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. so that his children could get milk. This was in the early 70s, okay. I was like 4 or 5 years, my sister was just born, and there was no milk in the country. And then what did we do? White Revolution. And now what are we? The biggest producer of milk in the world. Nobody does that better than us. And then there were many other revolutions, okay. So there was the Golden Revolution. That was for honey. There was the Blue Revolution, which was for fish. In all of this, now we are slaying, the best. Number 1, 2, 3, India. Then, after the year 2000, something new happened. Technology. You're all students of technology here. So now, India has started many technology missions. Semiconductor mission, AI mission, quantum mission. All of these. And what are we aiming for with all of this? Vikasit Bharat, 2047. This is the year 2025. So, the goal here is, how do we change this India, which used to be here, then came to the bottom, and now is on the rise again. So that's the goal now. How do we make this India rise again and realize its full potential? That's the goal. How many engineering colleges today? 9,000 plus. How many management schools? 4,500 plus. Remember? 0. Remember 27. And now we are the talent hub of the world. Just like we are the milk hub of the world, the grain hub of the world, we are now the talent hub of the world. What does that mean? That means this is where innovations now have to come out of. This is where you, the young people, have to now innovate and bring new innovations, new products. That's going to take us towards Vikasit Bharat, right? So, 28th February, okay, 28th February is National Science Day. Just went by a few days back, okay. So on 28th February, I get a WhatsApp message from Raju. Okay, Raju is a mess worker. When I was doing my PhD, I was in my 20s in IIT Delhi. 1994 to 1998, every morning, every afternoon, and every evening, he would serve me food. Mess. I go to the mess, quietly he smiles, he gives me food. And I get a message from him on 28th February 2025. At that time, in the 90s, I was in my 20s, so was he. He joined his job at that point of time. The message says, "Sir, I have a son, he's past 10th, he's 22 years old. Can you find him a job?" I write back saying, "Can you send me his CV?" He says, "Sir, aap hi likh do na." So today, here is a person I sort of grew up with. I don't think he studied much. His son has studied till 10th. And now he's asking me for help. Right? Do you know which was the number one profession in the last 10 years that grew in India? Construction. Most of the kids went into construction, building this building, for example. You know what is the number two profession? Driving. Amazon, Blinkit, Flipkart. So most of the kids, this is like the 90% kids in India, go into these jobs. Construction, driving, services sector, mess worker, those are the jobs, okay? Those are the jobs that most people get into. Then there are about 60,000 very privileged kids, like you and me, who get into IITs, NIIT, ISERs, NIT. That number is like 60,000. And these kids, when they pass out of college, they get the best jobs. They're the best in the world, okay? They're the best. They go on to become CEOs of Google, they go on to become CEOs of Microsoft, IBM, Tata, all of these places. These are those kids, the 60,000 that go to some of these top institutions, okay? And yes, so 1998, I was one of those, right? I graduated out of IIT Delhi. And here is the mess worker now. 1998, I left him behind. He continues in the mess. About 30 years later, he sends me a message. Can you help my son? So now, that 60,000, at the back, I now realize that at the back of his mind, maybe it wasn't there in the 90s, but now it's there, that here is a Venkat whom I served in the mess. And now I'm giving the future of my child in his hands because he's one of those 60,000 privileged kids who go to NIIT, IIT, ISER, NIT, and all these places. And they get the best jobs in India and in the world. They get the best salaries. They become taxpayers from day one, mostly, or maybe after 2 years, they become taxpayers because they have so much disposable income. So now the question is, as technologists, as engineers, as managers, what are you going to do? What is AI going to do? What is quantum computing going to do to help this sector? Because remember, the most jobs that are getting created, number one, construction. Without roads, without buildings, without airports, ports, India does not become Vikasit. Doesn't do it. Doesn't happen. We need everybody. You and them, everybody needs to come together to build that Vikasit Bharat. Now, I don't know how many of you are all very young, but there was a time when there were no phones in India. No phones, because it was expensive. You had to lay wires all over the place. Then we took a jump. One jump, tick, mobile phones. Like magic. Now you didn't need to lay lines. Everybody got a phone now. Across India. Rich, poor, everybody has now got a phone. Similarly, we all use UPI, financial transactions. There was a time when only 10% of Indians had bank accounts or knew how to handle any money other than that cash. Now, in the past 10 years, we've become so innovative with cash and money that now everybody uses the mobile phone. Every transaction gets into the system, okay. So now we have learned to use technology to some extent, but now, what has come up in the horizon? AI. Anybody here who doesn't use ChatGPT? Okay, everybody uses. So now we have AI, which is going to do what? It's going to connect everybody. You don't need to be knowing English. You don't know English, no problem. AI will speak for you. You speak in your language. Hindi, Tamil, whatever language you know. It's good enough. Because AI will do that translation for you. So just like the white revolution happened, green revolution happened, now is the time for the tech revolution. But all the other revolutions had a color. What color is technology? I don't know. Somebody has to come up with that. So there is a need now to use this technology for each one of you now to think big. Because 30 years from now, there is going to be a mess worker who's going to count on you. Saying that, ma'am, sir, I have a child, help. And by then we better be a developed nation, a Vikasit Bharat. By then we better have learned to use all the talent today. Today, AI talent sits in India. Quantum talent sits in India. Cyber security talent sits in India. You want somebody to solve a problem in US, Germany, who goes? This talent from India goes and solves those problems. So we now need to learn not only to solve the problems of the world, but also the problems of India, the local problems. Because that's the only way we're going to get Vikasit. So you are those people. You are the people who are now holding that technology in your hands. You are the people who now have to build those solutions, which is going to take everybody across the board, whether it's that new construction worker, it's the driver, or it is anybody else. To use that technology to move us forward. That's what needs to happen at this point. So, we all sing Bharata Bhagya Vidhata. Who is that? Think about it. Because the answer to that is what is going to take us forward. So, thank you so much.